Most international students in America think degrees work exactly the same as back home. It doesn't. In America, your degree isn't just your major. It's a combination of credits, gen-eds, electives, your major requirements, and even sometimes a minor. And if you don't understand how all those pieces fit together, you can end up taking unnecessary classes, spending extra money, and taking longer than necessary in US college. So in this video, I'm going to break down all 5 parts to a US degree and show you exactly how they fit together. By the end of the video, you'll understand exactly how the American system works and how understanding this saved me tens of thousands of dollars and years of time as an international student in US college. The first thing you need to understand about the American system is that their degrees are not measured in years, they're measured in credits. And this is one of the biggest differences between the US system and many other countries. When I first arrived in America, I thought of university in terms of years. You'd have first year, second year, third year, just like it worked back home. But in America, the most important question isn't what year you're in, it's how many credits do you have? The easiest way to think about credits is like a progress bar towards graduation. Every class you take is worth a certain number of credits. Most classes are worth between 3 and 4 credits. However, it can be more and it can be less depending on the class. And most bachelor's degrees require 120 credits to graduate. So every time you complete a class, you're adding credits to your total and moving a little bit closer to graduation. Most students take about 15 credits per semester. There are 2 semesters per academic year, so that puts you at about 30 credits per year. And after about 4 years, most students end up with 120 credits that they need to graduate. But this is a really important distinction to make, because students don't graduate after 4 years have passed. Students graduate because they've completed enough credits and met all the requirements for their degree. That's why I always tell international students that time is just a byproduct of credits. Credits determine your progress. 4 years is just the most common timeline. And once you understand that, a lot of things about the American system start making more sense. Now that we understand an American degree is made up of credits, let's talk about one of the most common things you'll hear in American college: your major. Your major is just your main subject. It's your primary area of study, and it's the subject you'll spend the most time on throughout your degree. Some examples of some majors include accounting, psychology, biology, exercise science, criminal justice, business, and your major will be the thing that will appear on your diploma when you graduate school. Now, for international students, this is where the confusion starts, because one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about US college is thinking that your major and your degree are the same thing. They're actually not. Your major is just a part of your degree. It's not your entire degree, and that's a really important distinction to make. Most majors make up between 40 and 60 credits out of the roughly 120 credits needed to graduate. So while your major is most likely the largest part of your degree, it only takes up roughly half of the credits required to graduate. And of course, some majors are larger than others, so programs like engineering, nursing, or other specialized degrees may require more credits than average. Universities will list all of these major requirements within your degree plan. But regardless of the exact number, your major is where you'll spend most of your academic time. Most of your upper level classes will be related to your subject, and this is the area where you'll develop the most expertise in. For students coming from the UK, the easiest way to think about it is this. In the UK, your degree is your subject. In America, your major is your subject. It's essentially the same idea, just with different terminology. And another thing that really surprises international students is that changing majors is a really normal thing to do. Many students arrive at university unsure of exactly what they want to study. And because of that, it's very common for students to change majors within their first or second year of study before they want to settle on something. Most students will have settled on a major by their second or their third year. But this is where things get a little bit interesting. If your major is only 40 to 60 credits of the 120 that you need to graduate, where are the rest of the credits coming from? One of the biggest answers to this question is something called general education requirements, or most students call them gen-eds. And if you've ever looked at an American student schedule and wondered why an accounting student's taking speech and a biology student is taking religion, well then this is usually the reason. Most universities in the United States believe that students should have a broad education and not just focus on a single subject. And because of that, students are required to take classes outside of their major, and these classes are called general education requirements. Usually, gen-eds take up between 30 and 45 credits of your degree, which is usually between 10 and 15 classes. Common gen-ed subjects can include things like English, history, science, government, maths, and even communication or speech. For example, during my degree, I wasn't only taking classes related to my major, I was also taking, in my first semester, government, history, religion, and speech, and my major was accounting. At first, this was really strange to me as an international student. I remember thinking, why am I taking these classes? They have absolutely nothing to do with my major. But that's just simply how American degrees are designed. Universities want students to have a broader education rather than focusing on one thing straight away. And this is one of the reasons why American degrees often feel broader than degrees in other countries. It's also one of the reasons why changing majors is a thing that you can do in America, because a lot of first year classes can be general education classes. And because those gen-eds are required across multiple majors, students can change direction without completely starting over their degree. But even after you've completed your gen-ed requirements and your major requirements, you still will have some credits left to complete. And that is where electives come in. Electives are classes that you choose yourself. So unlike your major or your gen-ed requirements, electives are usually not required in your degree. Instead, electives are designed to give students flexibility within their degree. The easiest way to think about this is that gen-eds are required, major requirements are required, and electives are a choice. But the exact number of elective credits varies depending on your university and depending on your degree program. So some students might only have a few elective credits available, whereas other students might have a lot. Typically, elective credits make up somewhere between 15 and 45 credits within your degree. But the amount of credits you take for elective is really dependent on how many credits are already taken up by your major and your general education requirements. Because electives are your choice, students can use them in many different ways. For example, a student might choose classes such as psychology, nutrition, sports management, or even photography. Some students choose electives because they simply find it interesting, or others might use them to explore other career paths. And some students use them strategically to support their major and future goals. This flexibility is one of the major reasons why students enjoy American degrees. It gives you the opportunity to study subjects outside of your main area and build a degree that's a little bit more personalized towards your interests. Some students might even take that idea a step further and use these elective credits towards a secondary area of study, and that's where minors come in. One question that international students have when they understand what majors and electives are is, can you study a second subject? And the answer is yes. And one of the ways students do this is through something called a minor. You've probably heard of this term before, but the easiest way to think about it is like a smaller specialization. It's separate from your main area of study, but it requires fewer classes than your major. Typically, a minor will require somewhere between 15 and 24 credits, which usually works out to roughly 5 to 8 classes. And this is where electives come back in the picture, because many students use their elective credits to complete the requirements for a minor. For example, a student might major in business administration and minor in marketing, or they might major in sports management and minor in business. Their major still remains their primary area of study, but their minor allows them to deepen their knowledge in another subject. Students may choose minors for a variety of reasons. Some are simply interested in another subject and want to learn more about it. Some choose a minor because it complements their major. Others may believe it may help support their future career goals. But with that being said, it's important to understand that a minor is completely optional. You do not need a minor to graduate university. And plenty of students complete their degrees without ever pursuing one. So a minor can be a useful addition to your degree, but it's not something that most students need to worry about when they first arrive in the United States. Now we've covered all the major parts of a US degree. We've covered credits, majors, gen-eds, electives, and now minors. Let's now put everything together and talk about why understanding all of this actually matters. So let's quickly recap everything that we've covered so far. Credits tell you how far you are through your degree. Your major is your main subject. Gen-eds are the broad requirements you complete outside of your major. Electives are the classes that you choose yourself. And a minor is an optional secondary area of study. So let's put everything together in a real example. Imagine a degree requires 120 credits. 48 credits may come from the major. 42 credits come from from gen-eds, and then 30 credits come from electives. Together, that's your degree. Now, when I first arrived in America, all of these terms sounded really confusing. And honestly, it felt like a completely different system that I was somehow expected to just understand. But once I started learning how all these things fit together, I realized they're all just different pieces of the same puzzle. And once you understand those pieces, the entire American college system starts to make a lot more sense. More importantly, it allows you to make better decisions. You can plan your degree more effectively, you can avoid taking unnecessary classes, you can save both time and money, and you can understand opportunities that international students don't even realize exist. Because once you understand things like credits, majors, minors, gen-eds, and electives, you can start to understand much bigger concepts. Things like changing majors, graduating early, transferring schools, earning credits outside of the classroom, and reducing the overall cost of your degree. All of those topics become much easier to understand once you understand the structure of a US degree. And that's really the goal of this video. Not to just teach you a few bits of terminology, but to teach you exactly how the American college system actually works. Because once you understand how the system works, you're in a much better position to navigate it successfully. Hopefully this video helped you understand a bit more about how US degrees actually work. If you'd like to learn more, I've put a link to my full course in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.